The defoliator deployment tank, commonly called the DDT, was one of the Separatist Alliance's most ethically horrifying weapons concepts. Developed by Nemoidian weapons engineer Locke Durd, this modified armored assault tank carried a specialized artillery launcher capable of firing defoliator capsules. When detonated, these warheads created an expanding radius of destructive radiation-based energy that scorched all organic matter, including clone troopers, civilians, and plant life, all while leaving battle droids completely unscathed. The weapon represented a nightmare scenario for the Republic. Entire clone battalions could be wiped out without damaging a single droid or piece of equipment. During field testing on Meriden, the defoliator proved devastatingly effective, nearly killing Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano. However, Locke Durd was captured before mass production could begin, and the Republic suppressed knowledge of its existence. Ironically, General Grievous later deployed a defoliator variant against the Night Sisters of Dathomir, suggesting the technology wasn't completely abandoned. The defoliator tank represents one of the war's darkest what-if scenarios, and if Durd had succeeded, clone casualties would have skyrocketed, forcing the Republic onto the defensive years before they were ready. The Organic Decimator was a Techno-Union prototype designed by Wat Tambor specifically to counter elite clone commando units. This levitating sabotage droid featured 6 energy emitters that projected seeking tendrils, each hunting for organic tissue. Once a tendril made contact with a clone trooper, the remaining tendrils would converge, superheat the target, and instantaneously vaporize all organic matter. The weapon was terrifying for its speed since entire squads could be eliminated in seconds. Tambor deployed the Decimator during a mission where Clone Force 99 attempted a rescue operation of one of their brothers, Echo. Despite its devastating capabilities, the Decimator proved vulnerable to concentrated blaster fire and was destroyed before recovery or replication. The droid's destruction marked the end of the entire Decimator program. Only a handful of clones witnessed it in action, and those who survived had no interest in publicizing how close they came to obliteration. If mass-produced, Decimators could have been deployed as automated sentries around Separatist installations, creating devastating no-go zones for Republic forces. When the shadowy world of Umbara seceded from the Republic and joined the Separatist Alliance, it brought military technology that was decades ahead of anything either side possessed at that time. The Umbaran militia fielded electromagnetic plasma cannons, holographic control systems, and vehicles that Republic intelligence had never encountered. Their impeding assault tank was a massive centipede-like crawler that could burrow underground and emerge behind Republic lines and shielded against everything except starfighter-grade weaponry. The mobile heavy cannon was a walking fortress with artillery-class firepower, requiring concentrated airstrikes to destroy. Most impressively, their weapons employed electromagnetic plasma technology that accelerated superheated projectiles along electromagnetic rails, offering superior range and penetration compared to standard blasters. After the Bloody Republic victory on Umbara, these technologies were captured largely intact. The Empire later reverse-engineered a simplified mobile heavy cannon, but the majority of Umbaran tech was never mass-produced. You see, the Umbarans were notoriously secretive and refused to share specifications, and the weapons were prohibitively expensive to replicate at scale. What remains is how close either side came to gaining a decisive technological edge if they deployed these weapons across major fronts. The Republic's answer to the defoliator came in the form of the electro-proton bomb, a weapon designed to destroy battle droids while leaving organic life unharmed. Developed in response to escalating separatist anti-clone weapons, the electro-proton bomb generated a massive electromagnetic pulse and proton discharge that fried droid circuitry across a wide radius. It was successfully tested on Malastare, where it created an enormous sinkhole while disabling thousands of battle droids in a single detonation. The test seemed to validate the weapon as a game-changer for Republic forces, which finally gave them a tool that could level the playing field against the Separatists' numerical superiority. However, the test awakened the ancient Zillo beast, a creature thought extinct, which rampaged through the battlefield and later attacked Coruscant. The political fallout from the Zillo beast incident, combined with logistical challenges of deploying such massive ordnance, meant the electro-proton bomb saw extremely limited use after Malastare. The Republic never publicly acknowledged how effective the weapon was and instead focused on the chaos it caused. If deployed strategically at major droid manufacturing hubs, electro-proton bombs could have crippled Separatist production capacity and shortened the war significantly. While most clone troopers cycled between Phase 1 and Phase 2 armor during the Clone Wars, a select few elite operatives received access to Katarn-class commando armor, a prototype advanced enough to have been forgotten almost entirely by the Empire. Developed collaboratively by Kaminoan scientists and Republic military engineers, Katarn armor represented the cutting edge of defensive technology. Enhanced plating density, integrated sensor arrays, modular weapon mounts, and specialized environments coatings for jungle, urban, and special operations. This armor was distributed to clone commandos like Delta Squad and Omega Squad, the Republic's most elite and secretive operatives. This armor featured stealth capabilities through deployable cloaking systems, advanced heads-up displays with threat recognition, AI, and autonomous shield generators. However, the program remained classified and limited to fewer than 1,000 units because of its astronomical cost and the secrecy surrounding clone commando operations. After Order 66, the Empire abandoned the Katarn program entirely, deeming clone commandos and their specialized gear incompatible with Imperial Stormtrooper doctrine. What's forgotten is how Katarn armor could have evolved as prototypes existed for Phase 3 variants that combined Phase 2, comfort with Katarn protection, but the transition was never completed. If the Clone Wars had continued for another 2 to 3 years, every elite clone unit would have been equipped with Katarn-grade armor, fundamentally shifting the war's balance. The technology itself disappeared, repurposed into early Imperial armor projects, or simply lost to archive deletion. Not to be confused with the Techno Union's organic decimator droid, the Republic Decimator was a heavy assault walker developed early in the Clone Wars, equipped with deflector shields and a long-range turbo laser capable of engaging enemy capital ships from the ground. The Decimator was intended to serve as mobile artillery and a breakthrough weapon against fortified Separatist positions. Unlike the versatile ATTE, which excelled as a troop transport and medium walker, the Decimator was purpose-built for pure firepower projection. However, its deployment record remains murky since few references exist in official battle reports, suggesting it either saw extremely limited field use or was quietly shelved after initial trials. The Republic scrapped this project since the ATTE proved so successful in its combined arms role that specialized heavy walkers like the Decimator became redundant. Additionally, the Decimator's high cost and maintenance requirements made it impractical for mass production. What's intriguing is how the Decimator's design philosophy of shields plus heavy firepower would later resurface in Imperial AT-AT walkers, suggesting some of its concepts survived even if the vehicle itself didn't. When the Clone Wars began, Kamino's cloning facilities weren't just producing clones for immediate deployment. They were running a long-term production schedule designed to sustain the Republic through 10 to 15 years of continuous warfare. With each clone requiring approximately 10 years to reach combat readiness, even with accelerated aging, the Kaminoans maintained multiple generations in simultaneous development. Production contracts, resource allocations, and shipyard expansions were all planned around the assumption that the Clone Wars would be a generational conflict, requiring sustained reinforcement of frontline units. This massive logistical undertaking represented billions of credits in ongoing investment. However, the moment Order 66 executed and the Empire was declared, Palpatine immediately canceled all outstanding clone contracts. The Empire transitioned to conscription-based recruitment, viewing it as cheaper and more politically useful for binding planetary populations to Imperial service. Within a year, the Kamino facilities were attacked and destroyed by the Empire, eliminating any possibility of future clone production. This led the Empire to actively suppress information about how dependent the Republic had been on Kamino. What remains buried is the staggering scale of waste as millions of clones in development were terminated, and the infrastructure that could have sustained galactic defense for decades was deliberately dismantled for political expediency. At the war's end, the Confederacy of Independent Systems possessed one of the largest naval fleets in galactic history. Thousands of Lucrehulk-class battleships, the massive ring-shaped carriers that doubled as droid factories and capital ships, sat idle in orbit over Separatist worlds. Providence-class destroyers, Recusant-class light destroyers, and countless support vessels represented trillions of credits in military hardware. When the Separatist Council was eliminated on Mustafar and the droid shutdown command was transmitted, this entire armada became inert. Rather than repurposing these ships for the Imperial Navy, Palpatine ordered them scrapped en masse. Shipbreaking worlds like Braca became graveyards for Clone Wars-era vessels, where Lucrehulks hulks were deliberately crashed and dismantled for raw materials. The justification was fleet standardization, since the Empire wanted uniformly Imperial Star Destroyers. However, the true reason was political because Palpatine couldn't risk any faction reactivating Separatist ships, and he needed materials to fuel massive Imperial Star Destroyer production. What's staggering is the waste involved. Lucrehulks hulks could have been converted into mobile space stations or logistics hubs. Their onboard droid factories alone represented manufacturing capacity that took decades to build, instead reduced to scrap metal to feed Palpatine's obsession with Imperial uniformity and control. Which of these forgotten projects surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into forgotten Clone Wars history, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more Star Wars lore and deep dives. As always, may the Force be with you.